What's
What's
going
going
on, everybody?
on? What's going on? Welcome back to Knights of the Nerds Table. We're doing a little bit of a live here. It's been a quarter so far of the year. Man, where's the time gone, Josh? It seemed like just yesterday it was January 1st, 2023, and now we're already in April.
Yeah, time is definitely flying as it tends to do, but it's kind of like when we were younger, when we were in school, all of our teachers,
Yeah.
our parents, we would talk about how we wanted to be grown-ups and do all the grown-up things, and now we're grown-ups and we say all the same things they do. We've got the back pain
Bro.
and we complain about time flying, and we grunt like this whenever we
When
get
you get
in
up
and
a
out of a
chair.
chair. Yeah. So we
Nah,
we
man.
became our worst nightmare. We became our parents. So despite being adamant when we were younger that it would never happen,
Bro,
alas.
we're getting older, but some things don't change, We still love superhero movies. We still love capes. We still love action. We
This
still
is
love
very true.
anything that has to do with Marvel, DC, nerd stuff, anime, little video game action here and there. We've had an interesting quarter so far, We've had a lot
Yes.
going on. Personally, we've had a lot going on, a lot of things to do with the channel, man. So I'm excited to have everyone who's kind of chimed in, kind of come on with us. We definitely just want to do kind of an end of the quarter recap in some ways, talk about some things that are clicking around in the good old nerdverse, right? There's a lot of things going on, man. We're going to cover a lot of different topics. We're going to talk about one thing that this channel hates to talk about, superhero fatigue. We hope it never comes, but people are having that in the air, so I think it's time for us to chat about it as well. Also wanted to talk about some of the differences in particular with Marvel and DC, with some of their challenges, with their situation with Jonathan Majors, DC, Ben Affleck, James Gunn, all types of Twitter stuff. You know how DC rolls, man. It's like a mafia over there.
So I apologize. I was looking down at my phone. I have to fire off the link to everybody so we can let everybody know that we're live.
Bro,
Doing
I'll do
it
the exact
live.
same thing. I'm gonna go share our link as well.
Sweet. So I went to see the Dungeons and Dragons movie. We could start there because I do want to kind of cover that.
I actually watched that last night.
It's a little bit outside of like comic books and superheroes, but obviously definitely falls under the nerd realm that we have taken.
Spoilers, obviously, guys.
Yeah, well, I'll stay away from spoilers. I just kind of wanted to give a quick review and just say that I really appreciated the movie. Now, full disclosure, I have been a part of one D&D campaign.
Yeah.
And we did not even finish it. It wasn't even super long, but I very much enjoyed it. And I've observed some and I've watched some video clips and whatnot, but I personally have only been a part of one. And I really enjoyed it. So I didn't have as much context as maybe some of the people going to see this film who have been longtime D&D fans or have played it's been around forever, right? And I very much enjoyed the movie. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a good. Somebody commented on one of our shorts for it over on our YouTube channel, and they said 7 out of 10, and I kind of agree with them. They said 7 out of 10, solid movie, good movie. Not like the greatest movie you've ever seen necessarily. Definitely a solid film. So I enjoyed it very much. EJ, what did you think?
Yeah, so I just hot off the press with this. I was watching this last night, so I went to see it at the 8:15 showing, just out on whim, honestly. So obviously we were thinking about doing the live stream yesterday, but when we decided not to, I was like, you know what? Let me go see D&D, right? I think it's the most Chris Piney movie ever. First of all, like Chris Pine, I always like him as a leader. Obviously, like he was great in Wonder Woman. He was great as Captain Kirk in the Star Trek franchise. Like I'm a big Chris Pine fan, to be honest.
What else has Chris Pine been in? Because it's like I recognize him obviously, and like as I was watching, I'm like racking my brain trying to remember. He's in Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah, he is the lead in Wonder Woman. See, he is Steve Trevor.
Yes. Well, to be fair, I try to erase the second Wonder Woman movie from memory. So
don't worry, we
it's
all
like
do.
it's a ritual that I try and flush that from the system. Yeah, but the first one's great. But yeah, I know I've seen other films with him in it. I can't think of them off the top of my head. If you're watching and if you're a fan of Chris Pine, comment down below. Like, what else has Chris Pine been in? Because I feel like there's definitely movies I've seen that I'm just not thinking of that he's been in.
No, the first one I could think of, honestly, was the Star Trek. That's when I first saw Chris Pine.
Oh, I still haven't seen those. I haven't seen a single one of those Star Trek movies.
He's Captain Kirk. He's the lead.
I feel like that's bad. I feel like I'm supposed to watch those. If I'm a part of a YouTube channel called Knights of the Nerds Table, I'm probably supposed to watch the Star Trek films.
Might take one of your badges off. No Star Trek badge,
Take one of my my merit badges, like in Boy Scouts. Take one of the notches off the belt. Yeah,
well, I liked the movie. I thought it was really solid. 7 or 8 out of 10. Cast is really good. Not just him, but some of the other guys over there. Obviously, we had forget her name, Michelle Rodriguez from the Fast and Furious franchise. Did a great job in her role. They also had a lot of callbacks to D&D, like they had druids, right? They had bards. Obviously, Chris Pine's character was a bard, right? And just the randomness of the movie was very much like a D&D campaign, right? You just encountered, like I could see when people were rolling -1s in my head, or like a natural 20s or whatever. I could envision that because I'm in D&D campaigns right now. I used to be in 2, and now I'm narrowed it down to 1. Had a little bit of a big event coming in the next couple months, so I had to narrow my choices down a little bit, make some decisions. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really faithful to the game itself. And it was a great way for new people to kind of get in there, right? Whole cast was pretty amazing. And one thing I'll say is that this example of what a good movie can be in any genre, when you don't have solo movies backing them up. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, we need a solo movie for every single character. We didn't really need that for D&D. Here, there's 5, 6 of us. Let's just go for it,
Yeah.
If we
you made a really good point. I really like what you said there about the randomness of it. I think they did a good job. I heard some people that one person in particular I heard talking about it, but I've heard some similar sentiments where they were like, this movie's just going to be too cheesy because you can't communicate the randomness and not have it be super cheesy. And although the film, it's a little cheesy, but like I didn't think it was too cheesy. I enjoyed it. And I think you nailed it when you said it has that randomness of like, that's what happens when you're playing D&D. So obviously my experience is limited, but I know enough about it. I've seen enough to know that like we have a friend. So Brian, Brian, obviously, and he was a part of this campaign, and he was able to turn himself into a T-Rex at will.
I did that in mine too.
And so we would go to we'd be going through the campaign and we'd be like at like a tavern or whatever. Right. And ideally we're there to have a few drinks, maybe start some conversations, maybe learn a little bit about, our campaign. We were going after some kind of treasure or something. I forget all the details, but Brian would get bored and just be like, all right, it's on. And he would just go into sicko mode and start attacking people. But that's what makes D&D fun, is that it's random and it's anybody at any point can be like, I'm actually gonna just start attacking people, or I'm gonna start going off on my own. Like, you guys are going to the left at the fork here, I'm gonna go to the right because I'm curious. I saw something, the dungeon master mentioned something about the right having something interesting. So hey, it's our friend, our pal, long-time listener, first-time caller,
Atlas.
Armed Atlas. Thanks for chiming in. You always watch our content. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
No, and I want to give him a shout out, of course. He does have his own channel talking about African American Second Amendment, which is a really important issue near and dear to my heart as well. So go ahead and check out his channel. He is on YouTube as Armed Atlas, has a couple different channels there. You can find him on Spotify as well. Really cool dude, really awesome guy. Love the dude. Thank you so much for the love, brother.
Yes, you are top tier, sir. You. Thank you.
You're the real
Thank
MVPs.
You very much. Appreciate it. We can you can go ahead, and I was just go for it. Take it away.
I apologize. No, well, we wanted to kind of give a little bit of a recap of this quarter, man. I mean, we've done quite a bit in our discography here. Like, we had a lot going on. Josh, I know you did a few videos this quarter. What videos in particular really resonated with you? Did you have a lot of fun creating?
So I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of screen sharing here because I kind of want
Yeah.
to take a peek at our channel,
Ooh.
and we have the technology, so we're gonna go ahead and do that.
We'll do it live.
We're doing it live. All right. So I don't have. You can see this, right, EJ? Everything's looking
Yep.
good here.
Yep.
Nice. All right, so obviously these are our most recent videos right here that we've got. We've got the Mario, the Dungeons and Dragons, and the Shazam. Shazam is the last video that I did. So a little peek behind the curtain for those of you at home. We are a 3-person team. There's myself, there's EJ, and there's Dieter. And Dieter is unavailable tonight as he is a huge fan of wrestling. So he is occupied watching
Big
WrestleMania.
nerd.
So we wish he could hang out with us, but we totally understand. But anyways, the way we do our videos is we discuss different topics that we want to talk about, whether it's a film coming out or just issues happening in DC, Marvel, whatever, just in the nerd realm, like what's going on, what do we want to talk about, and then we basically decide who wants to write a script and then record their voice and get a video edited for whatever video we're going to cover. And the last one that I did was Shazam. And I chose that because I loved the first Shazam and I very much enjoyed the second one. Definitely first one's better, but I did really enjoy the second one. So Shazam was my last video. I had a really good time with that video, revisiting that character. Zachary Levi nails it. He does such a great job as Shazam. So that was a really fun video to make. The Dungeons and Dragons video, I watch all of our videos. I guess that's another peek behind the curtain. Before they ever even get posted, I watch them, and EJ does now as well. And we both have kind of taken over checking the edits and making sure things look good and getting the titles set and all that fun stuff.
We do all this for you.
Yes, because we want to have the nice looking thumbnails so you guys can click on them and the good titles and all that. So Shazam was a really good time for me. I very much enjoyed that. I really enjoyed why I love the Snyderverse that you did, EJ. That's very good. It's very heartfelt because that's really, really your thing, is the Snyderverse. So
Channel Snyder apologist right here.
Yes.
Elder of the Church of Snyder.
Yes. I did a little reaction to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That was really fun because obviously I cannot wait for that movie to come out. It is.
Spider-Man's
so
your
excited.
favorite character, right?
Spider-Man is. He's on the wall behind me
right?
a few times. But the other video that I wanted to highlight really quick is this one right here, is the Before You Watch My Hero Academia season 1 through 5 recap. I am the only anime fan on this channel. I think Dieter maybe is a fan somewhat, but
Casually.
I'm the only one that watches it regularly for sure.
Yep.
And this video was very, very fun for me. It's gotten a good amount of views, which is fun to see. And the best thing that I got from this is there were so many comments from people that watched the video saying really positive things, like thanking us for taking the time and, sort of making that recap and putting it all together. So I very much enjoyed that. And speaking of that, I'm very excited to continue to do some more anime videos. We only have 2 on the channel right now, but April is a really, really big month for anime. So I'm going to be breaking down a lot of that content there. EJ, what about you? I know you very much enjoyed your Snyderverse video, but are there any other videos that you want to highlight while I've got this page
not
open?
Here. Yes, Zeeta's not here. I really want to talk about his Christopher Priest video. Obviously that one didn't get as much love, and
right here.
Some of the timing of it wasn't the best, but I really thought he put a lot of work into that one. That was for Black History Month, and it talks about the story of this comic book writer for Marvel who fought through prejudice, fought through different institutionalized racism to kind of get his message out there, and it's a really heartfelt. I didn't know anything about this, Josh. Did you know anything about Christopher Priest at all?
No, not really. No.
Yeah.
I had heard of him, but that was about it. Dieter is our I mean, I don't even know what the right
Yeah.
word is for it. He's like an
Encyclopedia?
encyclopedia of I guess that's the right word since we
Yeah.
thought of it at the same time. That must be the right word. Yeah, so he's sort of our encyclopedia when it comes to just knowledge of comics and the authors and the artists and the ins and outs of all that. So we appreciate what he brings to the table there for sure. And
No,
he did
that one
an
was
excellent
really good.
job on this video. Yeah.
No, I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed Poker Face because I didn't really know a ton about that. So, looking into Ryan Johnson's latest on Peacock, that was pretty interesting. Just want to give him a shout out because he's not here, of course. So, wanted to pump my boy up even though he's not here. Some of the things that I found very interesting to do. I did the Mario one, which was recent. Love Mario. Thought that was interesting. I started off the quarter actually doing our very first video game review for Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic Frontiers. And I really enjoyed putting that together because I got to record my gameplay and put it into the video, which was something we never really had done before, you know?
Yep.
So,
yeah, no, that was a first for us. And
Yeah.
you and I talked quite a bit about that behind the scenes. And we both agreed that if we're going to continue to sort of dive into the gaming world some, that we would very much like to continue to do things like that because it's really fun
very much
opportunity for us to be able to get some actual footage of us playing. Because usually we just, you know, again, peek behind the curtain. We just go on YouTube and I find some random person, you know, playing a game that we're talking about, or if it's a movie, I find clips of that or whatever. So to kind of put something that was us, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that one was really fun to do. I also really enjoyed doing the Flash video because that made me watch all the seasons of Flash that I forgot to watch.
What's up, Robert?
What's up, Robert? What's up, my guy? You know, that series has had its ups and downs, but because I feel like it's one of the shining examples of what DC could be, to be honest, I think it's very sacred. It definitely overstays its welcome. It should have been 9 seasons. Like, it definitely kind of ran out of gas at the end, but really enjoyed kind of watching everything and seeing what it came up to this. Love that. And of course, man, I mean, the Snyderverse video was cool for us because even though we're seeing a lot of that kind of fade away, it was good to kind of give it a send-off in our own special way. I want to give a shout out to our editor on that. You know, I worked a lot on with him, kind of make sure that the scenes were exactly correct. We talked about deconstruction. We talked about, you know, Henry Cavill. We talked about Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher. Like, it was a really solid video. Just hit 1,000 views today, actually. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a hint. It wasn't 999 when I woke up this morning. Gave it one more view just to slide it on to 1,000.
Yeah.
I wanted that.
Well,
number.
I guess this is the part of the show where we do what you're supposed to do on YouTube, and we had a video a while ago called "Watch This Before You Watch She-Hulk," and that video exploded.
Yeah.
I guess we could take a look right now. I haven't looked at it in a while, but 99,000 views. It's super duper close to 100K. We were very proud of that video. That's, you know, viral for us. That's huge.
For sure.
But as you can see, a lot of these views outside of that one are nowhere near that. So we've been kind of in a lull. Even if you look at these next few, the views are decent for some of them. But if you look at a lot of our newer videos, the views have been down of late. And since the new year, pretty much, EJ and I have been talking about this a lot, strategizing. So we want to definitely make sure that we're revamping our content and making sure we're making stuff that people are interested in and that they want to watch. So if you're here and you're checking out this live stream, go ahead, put a like on this live stream, sub to the channel if you're not subbed already, ding that bell so you know when we're going to post new content. We really, really appreciate it. And anybody that has any ideas of maybe some topics that you don't see on our channel, that you're interested in, that you think fall under this nerd realm, if there's some things that you guys would like to see us cover, feel free to comment that down below and we'd be happy to start diving into some of that content for you guys.
No, for sure. And I think a lot of this, because we're going to continue a lot of this, because we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up for the next quarter. Obviously, got a lot of movies to go over: Guardians of the Galaxy, The Flash. We're also going to be meeting up all the nights in one room later on this month for a little event. If you remember that, Josh? Little something.
EJ's getting married. Congratulations!
And this
so
guy
we're having a little bachelor party.
No, it's, let me see it. It's this guy. That's what I'm putting right.
There you go.
This guy's gonna be my brother-in-law soon, so that's gonna be super chill.
Yes, we are going to be related by law.
By law.
We already feel like family and treat
Yep.
and act like family for sure.
For sure.
But it's going to be official in just a couple short months here. And in the meantime, in April, end of April, countdown's coming. Myself, Dieter, and EJ, for the very first time ever, will all be in the same room together. So we'll definitely do some kind of a live or something for you guys, because we're excited that we actually all get to hang out, because usually we got to do something either over Zoom or StreamYard like what we're doing now, because we all live it. We literally are spread across the entire East Coast. I'm up in New Hampshire, EJ's down in Virginia, and Dieter's in Florida. We've got the whole East Coast covered. So that's the kind of coverage we bring to you guys.
Love it. Yeah, so we got a lot going on. We're going to be in one room, so we'll definitely take a picture together so you guys can just bask in the glow of the awesomeness of 3 nights together. Thank you, Armed Atlas. Appreciate you. We're going to get into Star Wars. We've had 2 requests recently about Star Wars, Josh.
So we've had requests about Star Wars. We are fans, yes, very much. We are fans. I think the thing is that for me personally, and I know EJ shares this sentiment to some degree, we have done some Star Wars content. So we did a video, I believe it was a live stream for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I think we also did a rankings at some point where we ranked, because I remember discussing, I don't know if it was during that stream or not, but I remember discussing all of the Star Wars films and ranking them. And there was some differences. We definitely had some arguments with each other, some disagreements.
Remember my boy Connor came on.
Yes. That was a really good time. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. We need to do some more Star Wars content. It's just, for me personally, I think for some of the other nights here, some of the newer stuff that's come out, particularly the movies, have been kind of a letdown. Some of them have been a big letdown. So I think that's really what it is there's so much content to cover, and Star Wars is out there. Not to mention that you Star Wars fans are vicious. They're merciless, relentless. But that being said, you know what? It's 2023. We're on the internet. We're streaming. Yeah. It's time to put the big boy pants on and dive into Star Wars and just let whatever people want to say about Jar Jar Binks, or Darth Binks,
midi-chlorians,
Jar Jar, whatever they want to say. So it's tough, and like that's one thing we're gonna kind of we'll have to get into Andor at some point, definitely for sure. And speaking of, because we talked about letdowns, kind of leads into what we want to talk about today, isn't it, Josh? Yes.
We're going to talk about something that the Knights never wanted to talk about. A big, disgusting phrase called superhero fatigue. You've heard it. You've heard it said in U.S. Today and New York Times and all this stuff where, we love superhero content.
Facts,
I don't think we have to say that.
Absolute facts.
Facts on you, Atlas. But yeah, the last couple of films have come out from both DC, which we expect the general DC hubbub at this point, right? Like every time a movie comes out, it's more theatrical what's happening behind the scenes than what's on the scenes. I think I said that in my starter video, but yeah.
Hello, Sky. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Sky. And so we wanted to talk about that a little bit. I'll toss it over to Josh first, because obviously Ant-Man did okay, but a lot of people didn't feel like it was up to snuff. Phase 4, a lot of people complained about what Marvel was doing. But just talk about superhero fatigue in particular, Josh. How do you feel? What's causing some people to be disenfranchised by the latest offerings from DC and Marvel?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because I think the first step is, do we think that superhero fatigue is happening? And the way to answer that is sort of twofold in my mind. We can answer it personally, right? But then we can also answer it generally, as far as like the circles we run in, our friends, stuff we see on the internet. I will say, first and foremost, a big trend that I'm noticing is it feels like, and you and I have talked about this, because this is what's funny, is that you and I call each other on the phone and talk for like an hour at a time.
It's almost like we're friends.
Right. And we do all this talking. We're like, wait, we should we should put this on the channel. Like, this is good stuff. So we were talking about this the other day, but really it seems like the cool kid thing to do now is to like go ahead and you know, write a bad review, right? It feels like all these reviewers are writing bad reviews, and it, to me, it almost seems like a bandwagon thing, because the superhero movies were really cool, but it's been over a decade now, and it feels like now they've gone the other way, whereas I feel like some of the earlier movies got more grace than they deserved from the reviewers, and now I feel like it's going the opposite way, where they're getting more criticism than what they really deserve. You know, a lot of the criticisms that I read about some of these films, I just don't agree with them, and I'm not a film critic. I'm pretty biased. I like the superhero movies. I like these characters. I like this content. So it's a lot harder for me to dislike it than your average Joe, I guess. But I just think that they're being a little hard on these films. That being said, I do think that superhero fatigue, superhero movie content fatigue is a real thing. Just look at what Marvel did, right? So they went ham on their shows. It was show after show after show in between all these movies. And they had to come out and they've fired some people. They've laid some people off, and they've cut way back on content. There's a bunch of content that's been pushed off further, and they're spreading things out way more. And I think they were starting to realize that by doing this factory thing that they were doing of just pumping out content constantly, they ended up just doing so much that it was like they were lacking in quality, you know. It became a quantity thing and not a quality thing. So I think that that's a lot of what's happening. I'm personally not super fatigued, but I do sense that fatigue out there. What do you think is causing it? Do you think that it's too much, or that it all sucks, or a little bit of both? Like, where do you fall on this?
Yeah. So there's obviously, I get it, there are some film snubs, and one of my best friends, who's the best man, he's one of them. I was talking to him about it today. He goes, and as soon as I told him the box office of Shazam, he said, down. Casey. He said, down with the cape shit, down with the cape shit. He got excited about that. And I was like, well, here's the deal. Is there some people out there that just want to be like, no, sorry, not cinema, to superhero films?
Did you just Canadian sorry me?
Yeah, I did. I was doing a Jordan Peterson impression, just terrible. But yes, basically that's what some people really want to do.
What's up, Brian? It's good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. We actually talked about you earlier. We were talking about Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you were checking the stream out, but I was talking about our little campaign we did where we were talking about how random campaigns can be. And I was explaining to EJ that we would be at like a tavern, just like trying to get information, or just like walking into a town, and you're like, all right, I'm going sicko mode, turn into a T-Rex. I'm just going to start eating people. So... Yeah, sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to let Brian know that we were talking about him.
But here's the deal: when you look at the two superhero landscapes, obviously it's not like DC's given us a lot of superhero films lately. Everything's just pushed back. We're talking
and what they have given us has been. It's not even just lack of content; it's also like the little bit that we are getting is like a lot of this kind of sucks.
I think Shazam is a good movie. I think the new
Shazam was good. Yes,
is a good movie. I'll defend that to my dying breath, even though the box office may not reflect that. But Marvel had gotten to a point where they wanted to prop up Disney Plus, so they did whatever they could to just pump that with content, new Star Wars content, new Marvel content. They just wanted to push so much content to Disney Plus, because right now the sexy new thing is to, of course, make sure that you have a streaming network. That's huge, right? So everyone wants to be the new Netflix. And so Disney was like, okay, we may not have all the original licenses that Netflix has, and that's fine. We're going to do whatever we can to put out original content that we're doing, that we're producing, and try to out entertain the competition. But a byproduct of that, being the capitalism of the situation, right, is that some of the content has been a little bit microwave, you know? Some of the Star Wars content I miss is because it felt like it was just pushed upon us, you know, instead of a special event where we want something to feel a little bit more special. We want something to feel a little bit more unique, you know? So I don't think I think some people would say that a superhero fatigue has set it, and the box office shows it's a little bit lower, but still beating everything else at theaters. Like Ant-Man
Yeah.
and the Wasp, I want to say not Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I want to say that movie. Let me check out the box office really quick. Ant-Man.
Our D&D campaign was lit, Brian. Yes, I'm sad that we weren't able to continue it, but we kind of had to shut it down due to COVID. But I would love to get something up and going again. I want to, especially after seeing the movie and everything, I'm inspired. And
Yes.
Sadie, Brian says hi, by the way.
So
and wants you
it's-
to know that he's Brian. Smiley face.
So 480, it grossed 480, which is lower than what the one before it did. Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second one, made around 700 million, so it is lower, but that's still a good amount. Like if you look at other movies that are coming out, that's still solid. It's just not that bill because we're used to seeing a bill. If a movie doesn't hit a bill, if a superhero movie doesn't hit a bill, we're like,
It's like,
gross.
yeah.
Was
Yeah,
it
the
really
standards
that
have
good?
really changed. As the great philosopher Bill Belichick once said, the standard is the standard. So
So, I mean, it's been tough, but also, to be honest, both DC and Marvel have also encountered certain struggles. And we definitely wanted to talk about that a little bit. It's kind of individual. I'll start with Marvel first because they're easier. DC, honestly, I can't wait for a movie to come out about DC struggles. Like, who should play all the characters? Who should play The Rock in DC's movie about how DC fell apart? You know what I mean? Like, there should be a whole movie about how Warner Bros. Screwed this franchise up. But I want to talk about Marvel a little bit, kind of.
it'll be
How
a
they're-
documentary. It'll come out on Hulu in, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years.
Nah, Disney Plus will get them. Disney will stick one to the
That would be
competition.
hilarious. Uh,
They'll be like, "Oh, we got a hit piece on you guys. Come watch this hit piece on DC on Disney Plus."
what's going on, Brian? Other
Put it
Brian, thanks for tuning in. Go check out the Bear and the Beard podcast, guys. They're our good friends. Check them out on YouTube. Check them out on anywhere you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, whatever you got going on. Check them out. The Bear and the Beard. They're awesome. Great group of guys. Brian, yes, the movie is good. I put a comment in here. I don't know
Cinema.
if you saw it or not, but EJ and I both agreed probably 7 out of 10. Solid movie. Good, fun popcorn watch. Like,
Yeah.
no way.
But do you think,
Thanks,
Josh, like
dude. I'm glad you like my backdrop. I've
Hard
been
Atlas is
working
killing
on
out
it
here.
over time. I've got a little bit of everything going on. We've got Blink 182 over here, anime, Spider-Man. We've got the hand painted old logo from my old roommate. So thank you.
I'm good.
Appreciate it.
I'm trying to improve my background, but Josh's background's pretty sexy. I gotta give it to you. You have a
Yes.
pretty good background. But what do you think, Josh,
Thanks.
about Phase 4 in particular with Marvel? Like, do you think that was a letdown, or a lot of people just felt that was not the case? I don't know. I have some mixed feelings about it. I feel like they tried a lot of new things that were interesting. I think WandaVision in particular was very interesting. It was new. It was different. It wasn't the same cookie cutter stuff. But what was your
Right.
thoughts overall? Do you think Marvel Phase 4 was just directionalist and just kind of made people lose focus and kind of, I don't know, just didn't hit like the others did?
Yeah, I think Phase 4 fell flat for some people. I feel okay about it. Not super great, not super bad. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, maybe. And I think really what it came down to was they did such a good job the first 10 years. When you look at these films, and we've talked about this on different streams that we've had in conversations with each other, but when you look across the first 3 phases building up to Thanos and then having Infinity War and Endgame be what they were, they did such a good job. Again, with a couple hiccups, a couple road bumps, they did such a good job. But then you have the added element of like, they started pumping out content faster than probably they should have, so it was lacking in some quality. A lot of the scheduling stuff got shifted around. We got movies like Black Widow like at a completely different time than we were supposed to get it due to COVID. So COVID was a big curveball as well that really changed a lot of the landscape. So I think there are some excuses. There's a little bit of grace that you can give them, but I think we're all at the point where Kang is supposed to be set up as this next big supervillain, and we haven't quite felt that weight yet. You know, like we felt the weight with Thanos because it was super mysterious for a while. But as soon as Thanos stepped onto the scene in Infinity War, it was like, whoa, you know, like he was immediately menacing and immediately the biggest threat we've ever seen for these characters. And we just don't really feel that with Kang yet. Now, obviously, we can't really talk about this without at some point talking about Jonathan Majors, the actor who is playing Kang currently. And congratulations to him, by the way, because he was also the lead in the third Creed movie. So it's pretty cool back-to-back leading role in the movie that was #1 in the box office weekend. Those two movies 2 weekends in a row. With that being said, obviously, a lot of you, I'm sure, have heard there's a lot of allegations right now, assault allegations for him. And I'm not a lawyer and I'm not knowledgeable of anything going on in that case, so I can't speak to his guilt or innocence in any way. All I could say is that there's a lot of allegations out there. So that's definitely a developing situation, and that might change the landscape. But obviously, more important than whatever happens with him and him playing Kang or not, or whatever happens, the most important thing is that justice happens, and that real life is more important than whatever's going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So whether it's true or not true, we just are definitely hoping for the truth to come out, and either his innocence or guilt to be proven, whichever is correct and right. But with all that being said, yeah, I do think that Phase 4 has fell flat for a lot of people, and I get why. But I don't think it's so far gone. I'm very excited for the Netflix characters coming back. And the fact that in particular, I'm very excited about Daredevil Born Again, because I love that comic series. It's a really, really good run of comics. And I also love that character. That was my favorite Netflix show, was the Daredevil show. So I'm very excited to see him return, and I'm glad that a lot of the news I've seen is like this is going to be a season 4 for it, because there's part of me that was worried they were just going to sort of blip or alternate universe everybody away and be like, yeah, we're using the same actors and actresses, but these are different people technically. So the fact that they're going to try and have a continuation of those stories is awesome, because they built a lot of really good groundwork in those shows. So I'll kick it back to you now and let you
let me respond to some of that, actually.
Yeah
So the thing is, it's hard because we all say that superhero films don't do anything different, they're not unique, they're all the same. In Phase 4, Marvel's some of its most creative too. Although there was some, just recycled stuff they put on Disney Plus, like WandaVision in particular was a different Marvel property. It delved into trauma. It delved into, the mockery of sitcoms, really, especially the first couple episodes. Really interesting stuff. I thought Moon Knight was pretty interesting, right? That felt different from a regular Marvel product. Also from the movies, bro, I thought Eternals was solid. Eternals had a different vibe.
I really liked Eternals. That's one of the, I know you and I, we differ in opinion sometimes, but we both agreed that Eternals was really solid, and neither one of us really understood the hate for it. But yes, I was over on the Bear and the Beard channel, and we did, oh my goodness, I don't know, hours upon hours of discussion about that movie. So go check that out if you're curious. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, no, that one was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I'm trying to think of anything else. I mean, Ant-Man, Quantumania. Well, there's some issues I have. The issue I have with that is that they didn't make Jonathan Majors' character King as intimidating as he should have been. He's a great actor, but you can't have him go out like a punk with ants, bro. You kind of kneecap the character. You know what I mean? To be the big bad later on. There was some. It wasn't a bad movie though. Like, I think it was solid. Especially some of the flashbacks and kind of his mental state where he's like, "Wait, is everything okay?" Remember at the end of the movie, he's like, "Is everything actually okay? Like, are things actually like?" That was kind of interesting, Yeah. So I wouldn't say it feels like some of the same. I think maybe some people are just tired of seeing them, and people are tired of seeing people win, and maybe that's what it is. Echo everything you said about Jonathan Majors personally. Hope that gets resolved, and whatever happens. I like him as an actor quite a bit. The Creed stuff looks great. Kang, from an acting perspective, the guy has some chops, bro.
Yeah.
Like, especially his jail scenes with Ant-Man and his daughter. Top tier. Sure, Ant-Man's daughter, I forget her name, but the actress that played her, there were some complaints about her, and I kind of agree to a certain extent. Like, she was a little bit. I think they wanted to make her more important than she was. They forgot the first two films leading up to her. There could have been some more natural character progression in that area. But overall, solid 8 out of 10 movie. I don't get why it got such a hit that it did. But we'll wait, because we're gonna see if this actually has some weight, because the movies that Marvel's put out is mostly D-list characters. Like Ant-Man he's C-list, right? Like, love him, but Ant-Man's C-list, right? Oh, my boy Mo. What's up, Mo? Let's go.
Mo's also going to be with us on that trip. So
we're going to see him a little later,
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so like, we're going to see what happens when it gets to the big guys, because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming out next month. We'll see if super fatigue has really set in, because this is actually the goodbye to James Gunn from the Marvel Universe. First of all, it's a conclusion for Guardians.
Yeah.
And also, these are some of the mainstays. This isn't just, hey, an Ant-Man movie or whatever. Guardians of the Galaxy movies were more popular than Ant-Man movies were. Or even Wakanda Forever. Black Panther was popular, but without the lead, unfortunately, in that situation, it's not necessarily as strong. Eternals was brand new characters. So let's see what happens with Guardians 3 before I say it's truly set, because that's a mainstay. If Guardians 3 has trouble at the box office, then maybe I'll start to say, all right, maybe we're in trouble. Let's see if Guardians 3 has it. As far as we're talking about Marvel right now, but let's see what happens to Guardians 3, because I'll be very interested to see how that does box office wise.
Yeah, me too. We'll get into this a little bit later, but I know that you and I kind of wanted to talk about like what, now that we've sort of talked about that there is an issue, like what could be done about it, and we'll get into that later. But before we get into that, I think we should talk about sort of the other side of the coin, which is DC.
You mean the huge whopping pile of crap that is
yes.
the DC?
Yes.
This is the most interesting part, honestly, because there's so much to go down. Like, I probably sent you like 5 different points about DC, right? And everyone knows I'm a DC boy. I love the Justice League Unlimited. I love the Timverse. I love the comic books. I have the Dark Knight Returns right here beside. You see this?
Yeah.
I love this stuff,
Yeah.
But the studios, Warner Brothers, I couldn't imagine more incompetent people. Whether it was Warner Brothers in 2013 to 2016 to Warner Brothers and AT&T to Discovery. Like, what are they doing over there, bro?
Yeah.
Brother, I think the first thing we just got to talk about right off the bat is Shazam the movie, because that's the content, right?
Yeah.
Bro, guys, you've probably heard that Shazam Fury of the Gods flopped. And flopped is an understatement. Shazam Fury of the Gods made less money than Morbius. Shazam Fury of the Gods made less money than The Suicide Squad with James Gunn did during COVID.
Yeah.
And was on HBO Max.
Right.
It had over 80% drop on its second week. That's historic. It's never happened before for a movie of that size.
Yeah. So let's talk about why that happened, because I think you and I both agree that it shouldn't have happened, and it had a lot of things going against it that weren't fair. Right. So a lot of it is the drama, right? With James Gunn coming over, he's basically resetting the universe. And you could talk more about this. You know the details better than I do, but there's been a lot of drama back and forth, right? So the basic timeline is Black Adam comes out and we see, I mean, I guess I'll say spoiler alert, I guess, but like, does it really matter anymore? And I feel like everybody knows. Superman, Henry Cavill is in that film at the very end. He's in the end credit scene. He meets Black Adam. Yes. And
But they never
The
talk.
Rock, The Rock has been teasing for years a battle between him and Superman, him wanting to get it done, specifically between him and Henry Cavill's Superman.
They have the same agent.
Yes, and it's looked like things were in motion to actually make that happen. But then James Gunn gets hired to head up DC, and he basically hits the reset button. He's keeping some people, but not other people. And it sounds like the Flash movie coming out there's going to be some wonky timeline stuff that's going to allow for the continuity of why these guys aren't here anymore and why these guys are here, the new people and whatever. And apparently now it's also come out that The Rock blocked Zachary Levi as Shazam from being in the post-credit scene, which not only have Superman and Black Adam fought, but Shazam and Black Adam have fought too. They're much more closely related. They get their powers from the same source.
It's like Lex Luthor and Superman.
And Joker, Batman.
Joker,
They are the two opposites. But I mean, the drama has just been nonstop, and James Gunn needs to get off Twitter is basically what that means, because EJ and I have talked about this and we both agreed, like, once you get to that certain point, you can't be the Kevin Durant out there with your burner accounts or whatever and tweeting at people and insulting them for being in their mom's basement and whatever else. You gotta kind of stay above all that, because it looks silly. And then obviously I'm going to let you kind of go over all of this, EJ. I just wanted to summarize it all, but James Gunn came out and was talking about how he wanted Ben Affleck to direct and what a big fan he is and whatnot. And although he's not going to be Batman anymore, he has some short scenes in Flash.
He said they talked. He wants to direct. That was his answer.
Yes. And then Ben Affleck came out and was like, no, thanks. I will never have no interest. Would rather not do that at all. So yeah, I mean, take it away, EJ, but like there's just so much drama and so much like
and that was all in one weekend.
And he said, she said, like it's kind of crazy.
That was all in one weekend, which made it even the worse, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Shazam situation, because that's a movie and we can kind of dig into that. So obviously I talked about how much of a failure it was. Now, the reason why The Rock was able to block those situations was because Dwayne The Rock Johnson was a producer on Shazam and Black Adam. That was part of his deal of being involved in DC. So as a producer, he can block certain things with those movies. Now, what's been said behind the scenes, I believe it now, is that The Rock wasn't super fond of the tone of the Shazam movies. He thought they were too kiddish, they were too juvenile, and that his version, he wanted to be more, to be honest, badass, a little bit darker. Not exactly Zack Snyder as far as storyline, but as far as style. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Atlas, you're correct. The current Shazam is an unserious character. Zachary Levi plays the adult Shazam, and then I'm trying to remember. I want to say Asher. I forget his name. Plays Billy Batson, the kid. Yep. In the first movie, he's I think 14 or 15, and in this movie, he's turning 18 or whatever. So they do a very good job of delivering that. He is an unserious character, but he's supposed to be. That's the way he is in a lot of the cartoons and the comics as well, because at the end of the day, he's a literal child that is given
like a superhero,
basically Superman-like abilities. I mean, super strength, super speed, flight, invulnerability, could shoot lightning bolts out of his fingers, like very, very strong. And so but being a child, being a kid, he acts like a kid. He's goofy. And that's one of the things I love about the films, is they deliver on that so well. Yeah.
So one thing that one of my guys said that was really, somebody I watch on YouTube says that when you win, all your problems with people disappear. So if Shazam hit the box office and made tons of money, if Black Adam hit the box office, we'd be telling a totally different story. But when you lose, you point fingers. Josh, you're a Patriots fan. When Bill Belichick was ruling things that he had like his own people come in all the time, didn't care about anyone else's opinion, where you were winning 6 Super Bowls, you didn't quite care that he was unserious, that he was serious all the time, right? or that he only brought in his own people and only stuck with his own ideas. You didn't care about that when you had those 6 Super Bowls, but when those losing records started coming in, now you started caring. And it's the same situation here, right? So yeah, Rock blocked that. He didn't want to have anything part of Shazam, which narratively doesn't make sense because they are the antithesis of each other. They should have fought. It makes more sense narratively for Black Adam to fight Shazam than anything else. But he didn't even want his character to be part of the first Shazam movie as a cameo to begin with, because he didn't want to be connected to that universe. Now, I'm fine. What they should have done, they should have had Black Adam come out this movie and then had that lead into Shazam and then fight in that movie. That would have been a great doubleheader. That's what they should have done. But The Rock did not care for that. And what's important about this, Josh, is that the producer of Shazam, the biggest producer of Shazam, is a guy named Peter Safran, who's now co-CEO with James Gunn.
Yeah.
But he produced the first Shazam as well. So when The Rock did that, he pissed off Peter Safran, and James Gunn. Make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Yep. So that's the first part. And they were really upset about that. And Black Adam was supposed to show up finally in the second movie with The Rock and some of the people from Justice Society. I think the Hawkman was supposed to show up. He blocked that because he said, I don't want to be connected at this time. Because he felt that Black Adam's brand was more important than that, which is an odd move narratively, because Black Adam's a D-list character. I don't care what anyone says. He is. But Adam actually just wanted to be separate from everything, which was odd for me that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson wanted that. On top of everything else, he pissed everyone off because he went above. There was no leadership at the time, but he went to Michael DeLuca, was the co-head of DC at the time, to go ahead and get Henry Cavill back in that movie. The studio wanted to move on from Henry Cavill, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson said, no, I want to do this anyway. We're going to have this, yada, yada. So he thrust Henry Cavill in there to kind of give him a 2-for-2, be like, let's build the universe off of Henry Cavill, Superman, and Black Adam, right? That's what he wanted, and that pissed everyone off. And ever since then, he's had hit articles come out against him from DC saying The Rock tried to force his way into DC. It was business as usual. It wasn't like he did anything
Facts,
terrible.
Atlas. Facts.
Yeah. True. James Gunn and Twitter just don't get along, you know? So nothing good.
I want to let you keep going, but I want to address some of these comments here. So Alice was saying that the movie didn't impact the universe as a whole, unlike Man of Steel to BVS. I believe you're talking about Shazam here.
Yep.
Then if you are talking about the first Shazam, it did impact the universe as a whole in the sense that it was very much set in the universe. They very purposefully mentioned Batman and Superman. There's posters in the room. There's they mentioned the Flash. Like they very much mention these characters. And then obviously the cameo at the end of the first Shazam was Henry Cavill's Superman. Now it wasn't actually Henry Cavill. It was another
that was the other
headless
thing they were
cameo
talking
where
about.
you see neck down, but it's very clearly Henry Cavill's Superman. That's who it's supposed to be. That's who it's meant to be. He visits them in lunch. So it was set in the universe, and it didn't affect the universe in the sense that one movie was leading to the next so much as Man of Steel and BVS did. However, they were trying to incorporate Shazam into the universe that they were building, and they definitely they made it sound like they were friends, Shazam and Superman. And
which is supposed
Superman
to
went to the school, which means that Shazam Billy had a conversation with him. They met somewhere somehow and had a conversation. Say, hey, my friend, my foster brother at school, you'd really impress him. He's bullied a lot, but he's handicapped, all this stuff. If you could come and visit him at school, sit with him at lunch, it would really mean a lot. All that stuff. And they even talk about it in the second film. They bring it up. Because they show that he's still actually bullied, even though he was able to pull off the Superman sitting down having lunch with him. His foster brother is still bullied by the bullies in school. So yes, it didn't impact it as much, but definitely it was meant to. EJ, how would you handle Mo's question here? He says, why can't they get these actors and producers who actually like these franchises and care about the source material? Which, by the way, Henry Cavill very much likes this franchise and very much likes the source material. He is a huge nerd, and they're are
But he's
few
not in
things on
charge,
the
that's the
earth from what
problem.
he said that he loved more than playing Superman. He loved playing Superman, loved
Mhm.
being Superman, and was so ecstatic, thankful, and happy when he was Superman again for 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, let me get into that. So it's not about them. So franchising source material is one thing, ego is another. Dwayne The Rock Johnson didn't
Yep.
necessarily care about for better or for worse, he didn't care about the source material. What he wanted was to elevate Dwayne The Rock Johnson's brand. Now, is that a good idea or not? Who knows? Maybe that could work because him doing that did well for other franchises. They called him box office Viagra. That's what they used to call him in the early 2000s and 2010s because putting Dwayne The Rock Johnson in your movie would give you good at least 300 to 400 million at the box office. That just was what was known about him. So he liked Black Adam a lot, but he wanted to put Black Adam in his own image. He wanted Black Adam that was The Rock. And so his ambition in that, which again, he did nothing wrong. I know they're putting out hit piece like, oh yeah, he tried to take over. He didn't go through the proper channels. That's business, guys. Like he wanted something done. He did what he had to do to try to get it done. Not hating him for that. The other thing I wanted to hit off of is when you mentioned the Headless Superman, Zachary Levi did something unwise. Like some of his friends, he went on Instagram Live. He started talking about things about the movie. He mentioned that he wanted to put Henry Cavill in that movie, but they were thwarted. And what he means by that is that the producer at the time, Walter Amada, who was the head of DC at the time, blocked Henry Cavill from coming back and doing the Headless cameo to begin with. Armed Atlas is a Rock hater.
I'll do that video, Atlas. You and I will get together and we'll make that video. We'll have a crossover. Armed Atlas, Knights of the Nerds table, gonna have a crossover episode. You and me, buddy. We'll sit down. We'll tell the people about the diva.
You'll call it Armed Knights. Armed
Knights.
Knights.
Yes, Armed Knights. I like it. Coming to a computer/phone near you. Streaming live soon.
But yeah, no, that's the thing. So Walter Amada blocked Henry Cavill's initial one because Walter Amada wanted to move on from Superman to begin with, from Henry Cavill at least. So he blocked in the first one, and Zachary Levi shouldn't have been talking about that. He's an actor. He has no business talking about that, to be honest. But he decided to. And he mentioned that Dwayne The Rock Johnson blocked the Hawkman and Black Adam cameo at the end when Shazam was asked to join the Justice Society instead of the Justice League. And that pissed off Peter Safran because he had to the last minute put these characters from Peacemaker into there, and which made, let's be honest, some toxic Snyder fans on the site mad because they put James Gunn's wife in the movie. They're like, oh, why are you putting James Gunn's wife in the movie and Henry Cavill's out yet? That's worthless to me. I don't care. But like that just caused a whole narrative that was terrible, right? So Zachary Levi wanted to defend his movie and his actions. They're like, we wanted to give you all this, wanted to do all this, but at the end of the day, I think the drama mixed with the fact that James Gunn is going to soft reboot the universe, no one cared about it, and that's why it failed. And you mentioned something there. I do want to get to this. James Gunn on Twitter is like, I think we've established this. It's just no good. He mentioned that Ben Affleck wanted to direct a movie. Ben Affleck did a interview with Variety. They talked to him. He said a lot of interesting things. I don't know if you read the whole article, Josh. But first of all, he said that his experience working on Justice League with Joss Whedon was the worst thing he's ever done. That was just terrible to him. He said that he was excited about the Snyder Cut. He said, hey, say what you want. That's my highest rated movie on IMDb. I loved it. Thanks, Zach, for doing it. He basically gave Zach all the props, said Josh sucked. To be honest, that kind of was the general vibe of everything. He just said, this was miserable, drove me to drink. I hated it. I was depressed. That's why I didn't want to do Batman anymore. And then when they asked him, he said, hey, there's a rumor going on you might direct the new Batman movie because James Gunn said he wanted to direct. His answer was, yeah, I would absolutely just not want to do that. Like he couldn't have been more clear. There isn't a more clear
There was
answer.
no gray area, which is weird. And this is the point that I had made in our conversation. I'll bring it up again, where it's like, you don't see that as often in Hollywood, right? Because Hollywood's one of those businesses, like the sports world is similar to, or, fame in general. If you're in like any sort of like fame circle, all those circles like intermingle and overlap, and this person knows this person, whatever. So people are always so careful what they say. Like it's very rare that someone will come out and disparage a specific individual or say I will not work with that individual, or I have no interest in being on a project with that person, because you're messing with the bag, right? You're messing with your opportunity that could present itself. Even if you don't have something on the table, it's just like good practice. It's like, well, maybe deep down inside, I'm not the biggest fan of this person. However, they're heading up all of DC right now, and there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of money on the table, however you want to look at it, that he's just, for whatever his reasons are, is just no thank you. So that just goes to show you like how
Did you feel like that was
disparaging?
Did you feel like it was disparaging? Was him just saying no?
I think it is disparaging. I didn't get the impression that Ben was like trying to be disparaging. Yeah, I say Ben like he's my friend or whatever, but yeah, my bro Ben, him and I were chatting about it.
Him and Matt Damon.
Yeah. We were just hanging out, in Boston, having a few beers, talking about the good old days. Yeah, talking about the Pats.
Served you some Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep. That commercial was hilarious.
It was.
I wonder if he directed that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think he meant it to be disparaging, but I do think that it just comes down to, like I was saying before, in Hollywood or show business or any sort of music or just fame in general, when you say things like that, like I will not work with that person, I have no interest in working with that person, you're burning a bridge there that sure, it could be repaired in the future, but like it just feels intentional. It feels like, because he could have shut it down is what he did, right? He easily could have said,
we'll see what happens,
even if he had said, well, I haven't spoken directly with James Gunn yet, then that would make James Gunn a liar, because he said he did talk to him, right? I mean, I'm not misunderstanding that. Or like James Gunn said, we spoke, he's interested, and then he was like, I'm not interested. So maybe they did speak, but maybe it was like an awkward situation where he was trying to break up with him, but he's just such a nice guy that James Gunn didn't realize that he was breaking up with him. It's kind of like
that Parks and Rec situation.
With, Rob Lowe's character. When he breaks up with Ann Perkins, but he's just so polite and so positive all the time that it's literally like a month later before she realizes that he dumped her. Yeah, maybe that's what happened. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, seriously, he could have said anything. And left it open, like, I'm considering it, or we've talked about it. He could have literally just left it at that, like we talked about it, and things are up in the air. But he was like, no, I have no interest in doing that. I'm not going to do that. He shut it down, and there's got to be reasons for that.
Oh no, that was.
I don't know if it's personal to James Gunn, but I don't see why Ben wouldn't want to direct.
Well, I think one of the things that was missed in the article earlier is that when Discovery first took over Warner Brothers, they basically said, look, what they wanted to do originally with the DC universe, they wanted to give another go to the quote-unquote Snyderverse characters. And that was going to follow the timeline of the 2017 Justice League, but they wanted the same characters to occur. So although Ben's been 1 foot in, 1 foot out as Batman, what was said was that at the end of The Flash, to begin with, it's probably changed at this point, was that Ben Affleck's Batman was going to be lost in the multiverse, and that Flash was going to go back and try to find him in another movie. So Ben Affleck still would have had a chance there. We also saw that he was going to cameo in Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, that's coming out later on this year. Remember? There was a leaked photo with him in Aquaman that said, hey, Jason Momoa said, Ben's back, So there was talks to kind of bring the whole crowd back in some way, not necessarily from the Snyderverse narrative, but from the characters, right? To give them another go. And James Gunn basically cut that off. And we talk about this all the time. It's like, yeah, James Gunn wants to try to be everyone's friend because he's a creative. He wants to be everyone's friend. But it's like, are you really friends though?
Yeah.
It's like, is everything all good? It felt a little bit vindictive. I'm not gonna lie. Like when you say, I would absolutely not work. Like if someone said, "Hey EJ, would you like to camp with Josh sometime?" I said, I would absolutely not want to camp with Josh ever. Sure, he's a nice guy. I love him. I hope he camps all the time, but I don't want to camp with him ever.
Yeah. Well, that's you. That's you though. You don't like camping. You're too bougie for that. But I guess that's the distinction here, where it's like, Is it specific? Is it personal to James? Is Ben just not interested in working with James? Is that what's happening, or is it that he doesn't
here's
want
the
to direct
Here's the
a
direct
DC
quote.
film? Or
Yeah, let me quote it real quick. I would not direct something for James Gunn's DC. Absolutely not. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's doing a great job. I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way they're doing it. I'm not interested in that.
yeah, I mean, there's no way to really sugarcoat that. I mean, I don't think he was rude or anything. He was honest. I think it's just,
Yeah.
and part of it probably why he was so emphatic was because James Gunn was firing off tweets about conversations and what's happening, and he's kind of like, without saying you're a liar, he's kind of like, he didn't deny that they spoke, but I have a hard time believing that. Like, how does James Gunn leave the conversation thinking, oh yeah, he's on board, and then like within days he's very clearly not on board? Like how does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it was just so nasty because it was all one weekend of just grossness. Like it was just so tough to see that. We finally got, like, the joke was we finally got to see Shazam fight Black Adam, but it was just off screen, not on screen, so it didn't really work, And one of the things in the article says that to make a last-ditch attempt to try to solve things of the relationship, Zachary Levi did reach out to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson personally to plead with him, say, please let us have these cameos, please let us do this, and Dwayne was just like, nah, it's not my brand, bro. So for whatever, he was a producer on the movie. He has the right to do whatever he wants. Like, as far as like what he can do whatever he wants. He's a producer on the movie.
Right.
But was it the right decision? I don't know, chat. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that was the right decision? I will say I do think that they're blaming The Rock a little too much about the downfall of Shazam. Like, I don't think the cameo would have changed everything around.
Really liking who The Rock is, though.
What's up? I think
that's just, that's the thing. I think you're biased. I'm unbiased when it comes to The Rock. I'm very neutral. I like him. I think he brings a lot of charisma to whatever films he's in. There's a reason why, like what you said, he was basically a guaranteed like $300-400 million if you threw him in your movie.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. That's great. I like The Rock. Like I said, I think he's funny.
Yeah.
I've seen a ton of his movies. I'm probably going to see a ton more of his movies before I die. But I really don't see, like, I feel like a lot of this is on him. And really the biggest losers are Zachary Levi and Henry Cavill and the fans, because by all accounts, like, I have yet to hear anybody say that they don't like Zachary Levi as Shazam. Nope. I've yet to see it. I've heard people say that they don't like Shazam, like the movie or whatever, but I have yet to anybody say it's him. I don't like him. I don't like his acting. I don't like how he portrayed the character or whatever. And yeah, there are some Henry Cavill detractors, but by and large, like, it's the best Superman we've had. I know you're on board 100%. With that. He's the best Superman we've had. It is what it is. Yeah. Like, hats off to all those who have done it in the past, and maybe we've got some people from other generations that might want to chime in and argue with us or whatever.
There'll be some Christopher Reeves fans for sure.
But for you and for me and a lot of other people out there, Henry Cavill's our Superman, or he was, and we're all pretty bummed that he's in the prime of his acting career and loves it. I mean, that's exactly what Mo was talking about earlier, where he's like, people that love it, and I can't find a better example than Henry Cavill as far as someone who loves the world, loves the comics, loves the character, and genuinely enjoys playing it. Like a lot of these people, like for me, I got to be honest, I don't consider myself a greedy person. However, someone said, listen, Josh, I'll give you $100 million cash check right now. Money's good. It's in your bank. And we want you to play, I don't know, who's some character that I don't like in a movie. I don't know, just some random, I can't think of one, but a random character I don't like, or a genre of movie I don't really care for. Yeah. I'm probably going to do it. And I'm gonna enjoy that $100 million and be like, thank you very much.
Yeah,
As
sure.
long as it's a role that doesn't go against
Your
my
morals.
own personal morals and beliefs and whatnot. I wouldn't want to play like a serial killer or something like that. I don't think I'd be able to deliver on that very well. But my point being is that actors and actresses all the time, we ourselves, people go to work every day, and it's not every day that you go to work that you're like, oh, you get to do this today. Like there's days where you're like, this is gonna suck today. What I got on the docket, what I have going on today, it's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna get through it. But Henry it wasn't like that for him. I'm sure he had his tough days, but he genuinely enjoyed playing Superman.
No, I mean, and that's the tough part too. Like, and I want to talk about this a little bit. What do you think it's going to be for the rest of the DC movies that are in the docket right now? Like The Flash is coming out this summer, like Aquaman 2, and Blue Beetle, which we're going to get a Blue Beetle trailer, by the way, Josh, Monday. So tomorrow we're going to get a Blue Beetle trailer. Like,
very excited for that. Yeah.
Does this mean those movies are headed for similar flops? Because honestly, the biggest problem is not The Rock or Zachary Levi or anything. James Gunn said these movies may not fit into his new narrative. I think that's the biggest reason why audiences didn't show up.
So I'd love to dive into that. I just want to do a little cleanup on these comments real quick.
Yeah.
So Atlas was talking about Shazam. He said, did anyone watch the trailers for Shazam 2 and get excited for the story they wanted to tell compared to The Flash? Movie honestly looks uninteresting. I get what you're saying. And I want to go back to what EJ said before. When you watch the trailers and you see the story, yes, there are parts of it that are uninteresting. But what you have to keep in mind is that wasn't option A. Option A was building off of Shazam 1, where you had a cameo of Henry Cavill and a Black Adam movie planned. And there was a world, and I am very confident that they had every intention of having both Henry Cavill's Superman and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam in Shazam 2. And if we had that, and that was the trailer, was the three of those dudes duking it out, that is very interesting. Then you've got something going on for that. But they had to sidestep. They had to go with something else. And not only did they have to go with something else, they had to very carefully navigate this changing arena. Because even though James Gunn being the head is a new thing, DC's dysfunctionality is not a new thing. And the change of who's who and Ezra Miller's legal issues and questions on whether he would continue. Like, there's a lot of things that have come up. This Flash movie, what was the original release date for this movie? Because it's
the Flash movie was announced in
2014.
Yeah, it was announced 2014. It was supposed to release back in 2018. So yeah, like
it's 2023.
4 or 5 years. Yeah, we're
it's
4 or 5 years
2023, and we haven't seen this movie yet. I'm still kind of wondering if it's going to come out when it says it's going to.
Or if it exists. Maybe they're just playing with us. It doesn't exist.
Right. So again, Atlas, I get what you're saying here, but I do think they had a much better plan in mind, but they had to pivot to this. And although I get why it looks uninteresting because you're dealing with gods and characters that aren't really a part of the larger universe. Wonder Woman is in it, spoiler alert, but I mean, it was in the trailer. So, they do tie it in a little bit. He gets asked to join the Justice Society. So they're trying to tie it into the universe, I guess, but we don't even know if Zachary Levi and Shazam is going to continue on in James Gunn's universe. We don't know.
Based on the box office, probably not. Like, there's not a big justification
confirmation, yes or no, but it suffered in the box office, but it's not its own fault. It's not a bad movie. They're not bad characters.
No. They did a bad job marketing this movie, though, because it should have been marketed more as a family movie, and it also should have been marketed because there was an emotional core there. Like, the first one really benefited from leaning to the foster kid narrative. They should have leaned into more of this time, because they did for the trailers for the first movie. Before the second one, it was just very interesting to talk about Billy Batson and him wanting to be accepted by his family. He didn't really talk about that in the trailers that much this time around. There was a good emotional core to Shazam 2. They didn't market it best. To get to these comments real quick, I know me and Mo said Mo loves Man of Steel. Not a big fan of BVS, but he loves Man of Steel like me. So I give him 50-50 on that. Armed Atlas also mentioned Blue Beetle. Yeah, I'm super excited for that too. I hope it continues to be in this universe. So we'll kind of have to see. And the problem is we have to support the movie now to make sure it stays in the universe, but we don't even know if it matters. I mean, it's just too much going on. I agree with that, Armed Atlas. And the one thing about Superman in particular, Superman's supposed to be a big brother figure to Shazam. And I just don't know if they're going to reboot the younger Superman, how he can be a big brother character to Zachary Levi. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make...
you brought that up in a conversation you and I were having where James Gunn now wants to do a younger, less experienced or whatever, and that was his reasoning for giving Cavill the boot, was he was trying to go younger and sort of, I don't know if he's going all the way back origin story. It didn't sound like that necessarily, but origin in the sense of like just starting to be Superman. And you're right. How does just starting to be Superman be Big Brother? It
just doesn't make sense. So I mean, I think all these movies are tough. Now, the one thing that's also been going on is Twitter's tough, and unfortunately, like a lot of these guys have had a back and forth. James Gunn has a very ardent fan base online. Black Adam has a very ardent fan base, and of course, Zack Snyder has a very ardent fan base on Twitter. And all these guys just been rumbling. Talk about WrestleMania. They've all been going back and forth. It's gotten to a point where it's not as enjoyable to discuss this, on there. So one thing that was super interesting is that a couple of days ago, Zack Snyder, who's kind of away doing his thing at Netflix, posted something on his Twitter saying that Lord Darkseid wanted to announce an announcement. And we were all kind of wondering what that was. Now, what apparently is going to be happening is that for the first time, they're going to screen the first three movies in his trilogy, his only three, I guess, in the DC trilogy: Man of Steel, BVS the Ultimate Edition, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, which has not seen a theatrical release. They're going to do that in LA at the end of this month. And they're inviting a lot of fans to go for it. All that money is going for American for suicide prevention. So they officially, the Zack Snyder fandom, of all things that they've been able to do, they were able to hit $1 million raised by buying all these tickets for suicide prevention, which is awesome, right? Great thing. That's a positive part of that fandom, which is good to see. And the fun thing is that he's also going to do a Q&A session when he's there every day, apparently, and he's going to be bringing some special friends out. So it's been hinted.
Did you buy your tickets yet? Jeez, I mean, this is like your dream come true. Where are your tickets, buddy?
Unfortunately, I'm going to be with you guys in our little.
Unfortunately, Unfortunately, I have a bachelor party. I'm going to be hanging out with all my best friends and celebrating getting married. I'm real bummed about that.
Yeah, just really sad about that. So just conflict, and I just wasn't able to do it. And the tickets sold out really quickly. Like it was like, I think, a minute, and they all sold out for those 3 days. It was tough. Also pretty expensive as well, but understand it's a once in a lifetime situation. So what's been hinted as well is that this is going to be kind of a handing off of the guard, where Zach is kind of going to be saying, hey guys, we had a good run at the Snyderverse. Let's let James Gunn do his thing, which I think is really nice of Zach to do, to be honest, to kind of calm the fandom down a little bit, kind of unite them going forward, because he has a lot of stuff going on Netflix. Like Rebel Moon, his movie is coming out later on this year. It has sequels lined up for it. They're making a video game off that movie. Like he has quite a few. He's not even going to have time to make a Justice League movie if we wanted him to.
Yeah.
Just being honest to people out there. So I thought it was really cool for Zach to kind of do that, and it's just going to be interesting to see what special guests. Like he's hinted the actor of Zod's going to be there. Like some of the OG people, like Lawrence Fishburne should be there. Like it's going to be a lot of people from the old cast coming up, answering about how they did the script, how they came to things. And yeah, that sounded like a really fun event. I'm glad that they were able to kind of talk about that a little bit. And it was just funny that all that happened in the matter of the same week.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I'm interested in seeing, because it'll be cool to kind of see him conclude on that, if that's what he plans on doing. That's what they say he might do. We'll see kind of what that looks like. But he also mentioned that the Warner Brothers is actually working alongside him with this. He couldn't release these movies without Warner Brothers permission in theaters. You can't do that, right? So he's been working alongside Warner Brothers, even though that relationship has been up and down, to get this taken care of. And that's at least something positive for DC, that they've been able to raise all this money for suicide prevention. I think that's an issue both me and Josh are passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to see. I'm glad that they're able to pull it off, and what an awesome experience for those fans that are going to get to be able to be a part of that, be a part of some of those panels and talk to some of these people. So it's very, very exciting, and curious to see maybe some of what comes out of that. And it's a nice little bow, to sort of put on the end of the Snyderverse, because it does seem like we're kind of really getting to that point where Snyderverse is going to become the Gunverse, or whatever we're going to end up calling it. So I want to touch on some of these things that Atlas said. So like we said before, EJ and I have no doubt that this was the intent in the very beginning, but due to The Rock not wanting to, and also DC's just stuff going on, it didn't happen. And I disagree with you here, actually.
I don't. I agree
on the story, because I feel the same way about Superman's origin story that I do about Batman's and Spider-Man's, where we've gotten it so many times. And one of the things that we really appreciate about Tom Holland's Spider-Man is they didn't waste time with killing off Uncle Ben and letting him get bit by the spider and whatever. They just kind of skip all of that. And same with the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, where it's these origin stories of these really A-list characters, which obviously Superman is like the A-list character. It's like him and Batman on the DC side. You don't get any more
but it's
known
tough
and
to tell
renowned than
Superman's
that
story, though. It's tough. It really is, and that's kind of what he's saying. And to be fair, Superman's had a lot of trouble telling a story. We obviously had start off in the 70s and 80s.
My point is that we've already gotten the origin story many times. Like, all the other movies did it. We already had his origin with Man of Steel, and we have a whole 9 or 10 season show about his origin. If you want to dive into that, it's pretty good. So I think the origin has been done a lot. So I'm not disagreeing that it's a fun and interesting story to tell in some sense. And I know what you're saying here with like Superman's hard story to tell because he's kind of hard to kill or even hurt, really. But I think that's what a lot of these movies have done. And I think one thing that I will admit to, and then maybe deny at a later date if EJ brings it up, is that the Snyderverse Superman films, the films that he's in, Snyder did do a really good job of showing Superman going through things, maybe not necessarily physically because he is so overpowered, but the emotional and just living life struggle and figuring out like being a god amongst men kind of thing. Like all of those things, I think that translated well. And I think that's a lot of what you kind of have to focus on Superman with, because he is so hard to hurt unless you can get your hands on some kryptonite. And I think that's kind of, where a lot of those stories are going to go. But there are other ways to hurt Superman. There are other people that can fight Superman pretty well without the use of kryptonite. So that is out there. Maybe that will get explored to some extent. And then Atlas said here, an actor once said he didn't want to play James Bond because the multi-year time commitment would limit other movie roles. I think people avoid comic movies because of that.
I'll take that one, actually.
Go
for
ahead.
Sure. That's something that a lot of people have mentioned because it's just such a distraction from all
especially
your other
Marvel.
projects.
You have to sign like an NDA and like they make jokes about it. Like one of my favorite ones is John Krasinski was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and they were bringing up something about, I think it was Jimmy Fallon, but they were bringing up the Fantastic Four, and he was basically trying to get him to confirm that he was going to play Mr. Fantastic and that they were going to have a film and all this stuff. And he was like, he goes, yes, Jimmy, I can confirm on your show. And then he made like a blow dart noise. He's like, and went like that because, like he was joking, making a joke that Marvel was assassinating him as he was about to reveal, the news. And obviously it's a joke, but you listen to some of these actors and actresses and the the level of secrecy and commitment that's involved, it is a lot. So sorry to cut you off. It made me think of that.
No, I
interview.
mean it is true. You know, that's kind of what's, and the drama stuff makes it worse because regardless, the worst part about the drama situation with DC in particular, so DC always, they're very vindictive. The executives over at Warner Brothers, and they always get a hit piece article on you afterwards. Like as soon as they had a fight with Zack Snyder, hit piece article. Oh yeah, you know, maybe some of his fans aren't authentic. 10% of them on Twitter are bots. Yeah, that means 90% are probably real. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, Patty Jenkins. You know, we didn't like her. She sucks. You know, she was just really immature. All right, cool, cool. That one broke up. Oh, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Yeah, he just went through the wrong channels. Didn't really like him. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson, for his part, has been very gracious about this. He said, "Listen, we're not going to be part of James Gunn's story. That's okay. We lose sometimes." He's moved on, but even so, Warner Brothers is still going after him and attacking him, which is really kind of gross business-wise, to be honest. You know, It makes it so like, why would you want to work for them? You know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, things didn't work out, but I think one of the articles said, yeah, he didn't go through the proper channels, and he tried to open his tequila brand at the opening. I was like, that's called branding. I'm sorry that's happening to you. Like, it's nothing actually outrageous. And again, I can disagree with his decision as a producer to not go into Shazam, but it's not like, it's not like he's the worst guy in the world for that. It's just like, I disagree with that choice. That's all. So, you know, I think that's also turning people off as well. Just,
I think one of the big issues with that is that The Rock has always presented himself throughout this whole process as being like a man of the fans, a man of the people, you know, where it's like, well, let's give the fans what they want. And at the end of the day, the fans wanted Henry Cavill and Shazam and Black Adam all to be on the same screen together. Yep. So he's a hypocrite in that sense, where this was an example of him putting what he wanted and how he wanted to run this movie in the darker tone and what his brand was and what he was into. He let that override what the fans wanted. 100%. I think that's the criticism that comes up, and that it's hard for me to get around or see another angle of it. And again, we're talking about movies here. It's like, it's not like he you know, did some horrific crime, like committed genocide or something. Like, we're talking about a movie here. He said no to some people being in a movie. But that being said, just the reason why there is, you know, some of that sentiment is, I think it comes across as hypocritical to be like man of the people and give the fans what they want. And then in this instance, it was very much about what he wanted, not what the fans wanted. Yeah,
give the fans what they want when it aligns to my brand.
Right. As long as I also want it, then give the fans what they want. Yeah.
You know, so no, I appreciate that, Armed Atlas. I agree. Like, and that's why I really love Man of Steel, because it kind of delved into that a little bit, kind of his struggles, and kind of like saying, okay, what does that actually mean for humanity that he exists? Like, is he going to just be a regular person? Is he going to stand proud in front of everyone? Are there going to be people who hate him? Of course, he'll be brought in for court proceedings. Of course, somebody will want to call him a Democrat or a Republican. People will want him, Superman, what's your opinion on this issue? You know, like, they would want him very much so to be commoditized and kind of be something where they can profit off of, where they can profit ratings off of. There's so much you can profit off of that person if they existed in real life. And I just think that's very interesting that they delved into that in that movie. And again, we'll see what happens with the next one that comes out.
It would be really interesting, and I'm glad Atlas is here because this is going to hit home for him. It'd be very interesting if they brought gun control into a Superman movie, right? Because talking about Superman's opinion on guns and whether Americans should own guns legally would be a super interesting conversation, because he is someone who doesn't need to care whatsoever. You could shoot whatever at him and he's fine, right? So if he were to take any kind of a stand one way or the other, the opposite side has quite the argument, right? So if he says, I'm for guns, and they're, you know, the people that are against it can say like, well, yeah, you're for them, but you know, you're invincible. So like, you know, what you're for guns, but like, you don't have to worry about your family dying or you know, whatever. Whereas the flip side of it is, if he's against it, then like, well, yeah, well, it doesn't hurt you at all, you know. So it's like that interesting sort of dichotomy there. So Alice
Over
said, "Ooh, imagine
100%.
Superman taking an interview on Fox or CNN and getting played."
Bro, he would be there.
Yeah.
They would be asking, so Soups, we heard that you tweeted this back in.
Yeah. They're trying to cancel Superman. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. And like you said before, like trying to watch him fumble the bag with Lois or dealing with anxiety. Yeah, I mean, just seeing someone who's invincible physically, like invulnerable, to be vulnerable emotionally, I think, causes a lot of intrigue and interest, so.
No, for sure, and there's a lot of good Superman.
It's a great idea, guy. Got to tweet this second.
You might get an answer. you just might, But let's kind of go on to the next part of this, because Josh, we talked a lot about what's gone wrong with DC and Marvel. I want you to put your Marvel cap on right now. You're Kevin Feige, right? You've heard the feedback. There's superhero fatigue. This is going on. Jonathan Majors. What would you do right now, Josh? How would you get things back on track?
So, I have a plan, and here it is. What they need to do is what they're already starting to do, which is peel back a little bit of the content, so that they're not cranking out a show every month and 5 movies a year or whatever. Dial that back and focus. Go lean more towards the quality over quantity, like you did in the past. Also, I still believe this to be the case, but I hope it is the case, because I think it's going to very much help and potentially even save like the Marvel universe. I think Kang is a distraction. I think Kang is not the big bad. I think the reason why he's not as menacing is because he's not going to be this big threat. I think he's a threat. Think about it like this. Let's go all the way back to the
Dynasty.
Let's go all the way back to, just hear me out. Let's go all the way back to the Avengers film.
I'm hearing you out.
Who is the big bad in the first Avengers film?
Loki. with Thanos backing him up.
But it was Loki.
Yep.
What's Loki now? He's got a TV show, but is Loki this big menacing, like, get all the Avengers together to defeat him? No.
He wasn't even then, to be honest.
But it took all the Avengers. He had the army, obviously, that help him. My point being is Loki was set up as so menacing. And they continued that same formula. Same with Ultron. Ultron was like super menacing, but he only lasted 1 film, right? And all these big bads that they've set up, even in the individual films, you've got the Avengers film bad guys, but then you've got the other bad guys. There's been varying like levels of menacingness and power and all that. I think Kang is a distraction. I think they want everybody to think that he's the next Thanos level threat, but he's not. I think it's Doctor Doom. I think it should be Doctor Doom. If you set up Doctor Doom as the big bad, the Thanos level threat, but you're distracting us with Kang right now, that works so well. So what you do is you have Doom, you introduce him, when you introduce him, and you have him be, ruling his kingdom over in Latveria, and he gets put into the mix of the Avengers and the heroes by them somehow getting involved with Latveria. I don't know how, but if you flip it on its head, so with Thanos, Thanos had a very specific goal in mind, and he took the whole first decade of this cinematic universe. It actually achieves his goal, but then obviously we know what happens. It gets reversed and all that fun stuff. But you feel the loss, you feel the weight, and you feel the just craziness of like a bad guy on that scale. So what if you flip it and you have a bad guy like Doctor Doom just hanging out in his kingdom, ruling his people, minding his own dang business, but then something happens with the Avengers, or they end up in Latveria, or they infringe upon something with him, or maybe they've infringed over the years, and then suddenly he just snaps and he says, that's it, I'm taking care of this, I need to handle this. So he steps into the limelight and he becomes the Thanos level threat. Doctor Doom should be a Thanos level threat. Doctor Doom is no joke. Doctor Doom is legit. If you want to know what his powers are, what his capabilities are, some interesting stories, like the time he ripped out Thanos' spine from his back when he was
Yep.
God Emperor Doom. Check out the video on our channel. There's Doctor Doom video on there that I did. I think that this would save the Marvel Cinematic Universe by having Kang be like a hezzy, hey, check this out, look at this, and then boom. Actually,
He's not the big
this
bad.
is the threat. I hope that they're doing that. If they are doing that, I think that's what saves it. Outside of that, I don't know what they do because Kang just isn't it, honestly. It's just not. I know they're going to do the Kang Dynasty. Jonathan Majors has done a great job acting. All of these things we agree on, but we saw him in a TV show and he wasn't very menacing. And now we saw him in a whole movie and he was menacing, but we're not. This isn't Thanos level threat. He got beat by Ant-Man. Ant-Man is an Avenger. Thanos defeated everybody once and then almost beat him again, and it took Iron Man killing himself with an Infinity Gauntlet to beat him finally. Kang did not take that. As you pointed out, Kang was killed by a bunch of ants.
Yep.
Or defeated. They didn't actually kill him, but defeated.
Kind of looks like a punk.
Yeah. So that's my solution for Marvel. My solution for DC is to just burn it all down. Just kidding. I do have a solution for that, but we'll get to your Marvel solution first, and then we could talk DC.
Yeah, so I agree with the scaling back thing. I disagree with your theory. I think they're going to really push up Jonathan Majors to be, regardless of everything that's gone on, I think that they'll still push through with that. I mean, there's enough he said, she said going on, unfortunately, where I don't think this is going to stick too long. There might be some hit pieces out, but I think they're going to continue with it. I disagree. I think Jonathan Majors as Kang is awesome. I love it. I think he could be top tier villain material. I think he could be better than Thanos. I've loved everything he's been in, and I love his character Kang. I will say we need to see more from him. Like we talk about him killing other Avengers in other universes, we need to see it. It's not good enough just to hear about it. It's like the problem that Thor Love and Thunder had when we talked about Gore the God Killer. We talked about all the gods he killed. Do you remember any gods he killed, like on screen?
Yeah, the first one.
That besides
when he
that?
first got the sword.
No, everyone besides that.
Yeah. No, you
Exactly.
hear about it, but you didn't see a whole lot. Yeah.
Exactly. So no, he didn't do all that much. We need to see him do it. And even when he did kill a god, he did it because, out of self-defense, basically. It wasn't like, oh, he's evil, he's taking out his vengeance.
Yeah.
There's a difference, you know? So we need to see his character actually do things that are kind of cool beyond just hearing about it off screen or just a side chuckle. Oh, are you one of the ones I defeated? Are you the strong one? Yeah, love the line delivery, but we need to actually see it. So that's what I would do with Marvel. They have a couple of interesting movies coming out. I don't think it's time for them to panic too much. They definitely need to peel it back so these movies feel like more events. Like they need to feel special. When you go to the theater, that needs to be a Marvel movie should be a special event. So it shouldn't be something you see as often as you're seeing it right now, and scale back the Disney plus stuff to a point where what you're putting on there is quality, not quantity, right? And yeah, that's kind of what I would go forward with. I mean, I don't think they've really hit a bad part yet until if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 flux, then Marvel's in trouble. But until I see that from one of their marquees, I'm gonna let it ride. To be honest, they still have Deadpool coming out soon too. That's gonna be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They have a lot of heavy hitters coming out. Let's let it ride. Let's see what happens. You know,
My understanding, Atlas, is that the Deadpool 3 is going to tie into Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that it is still going to keep its R rating. That's what I have been told and I've seen, and
Very
until I
much so.
hear or see anything different, that's going to be the case. And along with that, I just read an article the other day about Daredevil Born Again. I don't know if you're familiar with the Netflix series, but they were brutal. They were all mature content as far as, how brutal and intense they were. And it's the article that I read said that they're going to keep that level of intensity for the Disney Plus show. So it sounds like our rating, they're finally going to cross that threshold, and not be afraid of some of the more intense, more brutal looks into life.
yeah.
Yes, I agree. Guardians 3 is finna be fire.
We'll see.
1000%.
It's supposed to be very emotional.
EJ's a Guardians hater, so
No, I like the first Guardians. The second one I didn't think was good.
Yeah, well, the second one is good. You're just wrong about that.
Guardians 1 is like James Gunn's best film. It is.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is good. Like everything just makes sense with it. Guardians 2, the soundtrack isn't as good in Guardians 2. Like we got to be honest about it. It's not. The story's a little clunky. It's not it. Like
You know what? We're not here to talk about your wrong opinion about Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So
it's just
let's move
it's
on to
Midville.
DC.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start that off first. I'll go ahead and
how do
start
they
that
fix
off. I gave that
DC?
to you. So the one thing I think James Gunn's doing wrong is that he's not doing a total reboot. He's letting some characters stay beyond, like Viola Davis. A lot of his Peacemaker characters. It looks like he's picking favorites, like who he worked with.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you worked with me. Yeah, you get to be the new universe, right?
Yes. Yep.
I would start brand new.
That was my solution as well. So I mean, I could tack off with you once
Yeah.
you're done, but I just want to chime in and say that is exactly what was on my mind. This sort of half cut, half not. Like, let's do some weird. Like if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna get rid of the fan favorites, just get rid of everybody. Don't do this half and half
on
out.
top of that, like at the end of Black Adam, Viola Davis says Amanda Waller, send Superman after Black Adam. How's she going to talk to a new Superman now? That doesn't make any sense at all, right? It just does. It's not going to flow. Like for people who aren't big comic book nerds, they're not going to buy that, in my opinion. They're not.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be confusing and make people less interested in getting into the DC brand. So I would start brand new. And honestly, what I would do to begin with, you got to start off with bangers. I would just start out with the Justice League movie. I don't need lead up movies. I would start off with the Justice League movie and have them branch out from there. That's how I would do my universe. I get Marvel loves to have all these lead-ins. When you do that, it feels too Marvel-y, and it feels like too much like a copycat. You'll never be your own thing because you'll always be like, well, Marvel did this, well, Marvel did that. Fine, I'm not going to do that. Justice League movie will spread out from there. But we need to know immediately who our Superman is going to be in this universe, who our Batman is going to be in this universe, who our Wonder Woman. Like, we need all that first, because unless you get that right first, you can't do anything else. You can't do Peacemaker. You can't do the Suicide. You don't have a Batman. What are we doing messing around with everything else? So I need to get my Justice League house in order. It's not an origin movie. Everyone's already established the superheroes. We'll explore their stories later. We're going to get together and make a good Justice League movie first, and then we'll branch out from there, right? That's what I would do.
Yeah. I want to touch on some of these comments from Atlas. So I would love an alt universe movie for Marvel. I will say they did the show What If, and I really like that a lot because the short version of it is that they took different characters and like switched the roles around. Like T'Challa was, he's Black Panther, but in the show What If, he's actually Star-Lord. So they kind of switch the roles around some of the characters and do some interesting storylines. My favorite storyline was the zombie one. That one was awesome. I loved that episode so much. By far my favorite one. But a very, very interesting show, and they sort of explore what if, right? Different things. But yeah, if you had a Marvel show and you wanted to set it outside of the universe and sort of have your own continuity or movie, you could do that. I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of that because it's sort of in the universe, sort of not. Like they've sort of been back and forth with it. Like some of the people, like you've got Phil Coulson, like Nick Fury, and a lot of the other characters I mentioned, but a lot of them weren't mentioned by name. Like Sif was in one of the episodes, but they never actually say Thor. They don't actually ever say Hulk. They say like the big green guy. Or with Thor, they said something along the lines of like
Thunder,
the Thunder guy or whatever.
Yep.
So there's different like legal issues with that. But yeah, some one-offs would be great. I mean, I'd be all for that. I love superheroes. And that's kind of what the Netflix shows were as well. But then they are getting tied in, which I'm happy about. So yeah, I mean that would be great. I totally agree. EJ and I agree with you here.
Yeah.
We both think that he should have cut everybody. Atlas loves your idea. He wants to see the Watchtower start off in a crisis event.
I would actually build up. So I would change it. I would actually build up to a crisis event and go from there. And that's kind of how I would do it. Like DC, it's always been about timing for DC. When it was the right thing to do something, they did the exact opposite, right? So when you were starting off with Man of Steel, BVS, and stuff like that, sure. Could we have waited a little bit for a Justice League movie? maybe, right? But we already had it, so fine. We're going from there, and then we have all these one-off movies which no one really cared about, like the Harley Quinn movie. We didn't dig that too much. Aquaman was the only big hit out of there that hit a bill, so big hit, right? Gal Gadot's 1984 didn't do well, whatever. So the series was in a lull. But in 2021, 2021 was a good DC year. We had The Suicide Squad by James Gunn, and we had Zack Snyder's Justice League, which regardless, those two movies are pretty good movies, right? That's not a bad DC year. So at that point, as soon as you decide, hey, I want to go do the Snyder Cut, you should have, at that time, begin to go on that time frame. Now it's too late. Now it's too late. Now you have to reboot, right? But at that time, that was the best idea to do. And instead, you were like, oh, we have all this hype for our universe. Let's go in a different direction and have different that doesn't make any sense, right? I get that you wanted to. That was again them being short-sighted. They're like, let's prop up HBO Max by giving it content. COVID's going on, so we can't give it unique content. But if you're going to do that, fine. The Suicide Squad and Zack Snyder's Justice League, it had goodwill. Continue that, right?
Yeah.
You could have had a combination of that. But instead of like, oh no, we're going to redo everything, we're going to do this, then fine. But now you're in this situation now where you just got to cut it all and start brand new, and just go from there. You know, I'm not even. Yeah, that's how. I would do it.
Yeah. So for me, again, I agree. Cut it off, start over. What I would really like to see is a different way of going younger. So instead of resetting our Superman to be younger or whatever, I want to see the Teen Titans. I want to see the Titan Tower. I want to see the Bat family, extended Bat family. I want to see all of those characters because I feel like I grew up in a generation where those cartoons and those shows like really hit home. Like Batman's not even my favorite member of the Bat family. Nightwing is by far. It's not even close. It's a landslide. So what?
No.
What?
He's not Bruce Wayne, bro. No.
He's
like
not
Nightwing's cool.
The Bat family.
He's favorite. But Nightwing's cool, bro. He's not the Dark Knight. Like he's a stud.
He's better.
No.
He's a better person. Bruce Wayne said so himself.
He is a better person.
Dick Grayson's a better man than he.
But I wish we got to see more Dick Grayson too. Like that would be chill to finally see him. And when he's not wearing tights and saying,
in his nipples,
holy keepers! Yeah,
situated. Yeah. That's again, we've had this conversation before between you and I, but extended Bat family and seeing some of the younger heroes, like instead of Justice League, seeing Teen Titans, that would slap. The show that came out, I'm not completely caught up with it, but I watched some of it and it was solid. It's obviously very low budget. They haven't been throwing a whole lot of money at it. Some of it looks a little funky or whatever, but all in all, it seems like a solid show. And I'm like, man, if you throw the weight of Warner Bros. Behind, some Titans, that would be really, really cool. I don't think that they should start off with a team or a Justice League or whatever, unless it is like a Titans or a younger thing.
I think
that's just my personal
opinion. No, because like the Justice League would be a Justice League Origins. What I mean by that is that like it's the first time the Justice League comes together. But that's about it. I think we talked about that, Mike, already. Peacemaker is cool, whatever, but I don't think it's worth keeping around. Like, it's not content that I need to see. I don't need to see Peacemaker too.
I think that the tricky part about it, and hi, Dad, thanks for coming by. I think the tricky thing about Peacemaker and all this other stuff is, again, EJ and I we're in lockstep here, where this half in, half out thing that Gunn is doing it makes it complicated. It's going to make it hard to get into the universe, I feel like, because like if you have to change actors or actresses because of like, differences or the person wants to move on, like Marvel's had to do that. They've replaced most of the major characters have stayed the same, but they've had to replace some characters. Some actors and actresses have changed. It happens. Exactly. Like it happens. Things change, but like you're getting rid of characters because you want to do something different, but you're like picking and choosing, and it just makes it very convoluted for a fan base. Batman Beyond, heck yes, I love Batman Beyond. Great show. I would love for them to explore Batman Beyond. I know that they've had projects in the work, but it always ends up falling flat. It never makes it to an actual
back in
shooting.
Early drafts of Flash, Michael Keaton's Batman was supposed to come in this universe and replace Ben Affleck's Batman officially. I don't know what's going to happen now, but he was supposed to lead into a Batman Beyond movie where they were going to have a female Batman Beyond. But that was the plan originally. Yeah, I can go with that. Older Titans, love it. I think a Teen Titans movie would be great. Yeah,
so
I know Teen
that's your
Titans
problem,
going on.
Atlas. You watched Titans Go and you
Yeah.
didn't watch the original Titans cartoon, which is fire and it slaps. And it literally has an anime intro. It's literally an anime show that they made
Yeah.
in America. It's sick.
It's
love
wonderful. Really good. Peacemaker made its own universe called Universe 69. Champ. But yeah,
You gotta get Gronk to cameo on that show. Him and John Cena in the same room together.
bro, that would be such a duo. Like honestly, is that what you're gonna do if you were the head of DC? Gronk
Yes.
and OG
That's what I do.
Titans.
The OG Teen Titans is so good. That's what I'm saying. Like those characters are so cool, and like what you could explore with them, like all the different dynamics that they have, like the pressures, and I brought this up to EJ the other day, just recently, in the comics that are out right now happening in DC. They've done this before, but they did it again. I'm sure they'll reset it. That's what comic books do. They reset their timelines, blah blah blah, whatever. They just handed the mantle of like protecting the world / universe over to the Teen Titans. So the Justice League has stepped down and the Teen Titans have taken over. You could do that. I said this to you the other day, EJ. I don't know if you remember, but like you could literally do that storyline where you introduce us to the Titans, and when you introduce us to them, they're struggling. They're figuring out how to be a team. They all have different baggage because each one of them comes from somebody. Like they have somebody that taught them or somebody that brought them along, and they have baggage from that someone and baggage from just their life experiences. So they learn how to be like cohesive team, blah blah blah, whatever. But then they eventually take the mantle from the current Justice League or whatever. That'd be so cool to watch, like a handing of the torch like that in a universe.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's just so much DC could do, but they're always going to be hamstringed by Warner Brothers, who's bleeding in debt right now.
Mhm.
That's part of the reason they do the things they do. Like one of the reasons why they're rebooting is because they don't have a lot of money. They're trying to save a couple bucks. Instead of hiring marquee actors like Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, they can hire some young actor. They don't have to pay as much.
I mean,
Yeah,
whippersnappers. It looked like it sounded like you were trying to fuse those two together.
I just got tired. It didn't. But I tried. Young whippersnappers.
Yeah.
Somebody who's not well known, so that they can save some money.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately where they are right now. But they've just mishandled so much stuff. But I don't know why we keep seeing their movies. But I guess
It's because we like the characters and we're excited for what could be.
yeah.
Michael, I completely agree with you where you said I think Marvel worked well because they stuck things around Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Other actors changed, but Iron Man did not change. I agree. A lot of their success can be credited to the job that Robert Downey Jr. did as Iron Man. He kind of started the whole thing, and it resurrected his career. Because
100%.
he was just coming out of prison, and they took a chance on him, and it worked out so well. He was a excellent Tony Stark, excellent Iron Man, very very much a linchpin of the entire cinematic universe, and that's why losing him in Endgame mattered so much and meant so much because of everything that he brought to that cinematic universe. And I completely agree. Aquaman, great movie. Yeah, excited for the new one coming out.
Did you hear the reports though that they had some reports leak out that they said Aquaman's a mess right now?
Yeah, it probably is. It probably is.
Like I don't know what they're going to do right with that. Recast Black Panther. So this is an interesting question, and we've been running the stream for an hour and 53 minutes. I guess we should just go to two hours at the dot, Josh, and we could just answer questions, talk with everyone. But that's an interesting question. So I think, do they recast Black Panther? No, you've already put in the universe that he's dead. So you have either his son rise up a couple years down the line and take over, or you let Shuri take over. Shuri's
And
tough.
Shuri did take over, right? So she
Yeah.
is the Black Panther right now. And then they set up in the end credits, and you have the
Yeah.
son. So I don't think you recast T'Challa
No.
because you've officially you had a funeral for him and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that was the right thing to do. We had a conversation about this between the three of us. I remember talking about Black Panther
Yep.
on one of our streams, and we all agreed that they did a beautiful send-off for him.
Yep.
And we don't want to like take away from that at all. And I think moving on is because much like in the comics in
Yeah.
general, like that's one of those things that it's a mantle that is continually passed down. You don't
sure.
you have T'Challa is the most well-known and like long-standing Black Panther in the comics, but Shuri was the Black Panther. He did have a son that was a Black Panther. So like
Yep.
you've had this succession, and it's literally built in because in the first movie,
Mhm.
his father was the Black
Yes.
Panther, and it gets handed down to him,
Back in
and
Civil War. Yep.
his father before him. So it's literally part of their culture and their thing. Like the Black Panther continually gets handed down.
And it's like, no, that's very true. So Tony Stark, I wish they had dug into this a little bit more in the movies, but Tony Stark dealt with alcoholism in the comics. That was his main struggle. That's how he used to cope with the loss of his parents. I thought that would have been interesting. They kind of explored it a little bit in Iron Man 2. Remember, he has that scene at the house where he gets drunk and he like fights Don Cheadle's character, and they hinted to it, but they didn't really dig into it, which would have been kind of fun to see, right? Like that would have been a little bit more of a grounded take. Now, they did his life trauma in Iron Man 3, where they talked about his kind of PTSD from the Avengers situation, but it would have been more comic book accurate for them to dive into his struggles with alcoholism as a way to cope with everything. Would have led to a different type of film. It would have been darker, of course. I think would have been as family friendly, of course, to be honest, because of the subject material. But he's very right with that. I think Tony Stark saved him in a lot of ways. He was very controversial to choose for that role. They had to take out a giant insurance contract on him, Josh, because when they make movies, they have to put insurances on the actors just in case they don't. Like, he cost a lot of money for them to secure because he was just such a risk to the movie, you know? But that more than paid off, and it looks like he turned his life around as well. And I'm glad that we have people when you're in that type of situation where people reach out and not give up on you and still kind of help you get your life back right, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It's been fun to see the parallels. I think we all have missed and will continue to miss Robert Downey's Tony Stark, but I think also we appreciate the fact that the sacrifice was made. And I think one of the long-standing criticisms of superhero films and these movies is that it's hard to feel the weight of the moment when there's never any real sacrifice, when nobody actually dies and nobody actually suffers or gets hurt or whatever. They're like, oh yeah, they're injured, but then they come back. But Hulk being injured over an extended period of time, we know he's better now. But like Iron Man dying, just the actual sacrifice, Black Widow dying, Gamora died, but she's back sort of, but it's not the same Gamora. Like, having some real sacrifice adds weight to these moments, and I think that that's important for these films. It makes them much more interesting, much more gripping.
And spoiler alert, obviously Shazam! Fury of the Gods, from what I understood, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, what I learned when BVS came out, that you just cannot kill a character off in his second film. So I'm assuming same thing in Fury of the Gods, you just can't do that. That's just, you can't. Yeah. Is that true or no?
Yeah, it's a rule. We talked about that. That was one of the things I didn't like about the movie is that the ending. I don't want to spoil things for people because this is still kind of a recent movie. It is in the theaters, but
no one's taking it. They'll watch it at home at HBO Max.
The ending of the movie, like something happens and it's really heartfelt, but then they sort of reverse what happened. And the way they reversed it was kind of Mickey Mouse. So I
little Mickey Mousey. Yeah, Gal Gadot's, like, did you like her cameo in there? I know some people felt that it was kind of, a lot of people didn't feel it as much, One of the things is that, like, we don't know if she's going to be Wonder Woman anymore, which she probably won't. So it's kind of bittersweet to see her that way. But, what are your thoughts on her cameo in Shazam 2? Yeah,
I mean that's my that's kind of what I was getting at, is that it's not so much that I minded that she was in the film or that I think she had a bad appearance or whatever. It's more so, and again, I'm trying to tread carefully here because this is a recent movie. I didn't want to fire it off, but just what she does, it's kind of random that it's like she can just do this and just knows how to do it and just shows up, and it just seems kind of odd to me. But other than that, no, I think it was good. I thought the earlier scene with her when it's not actually her, but it's supposed to be her when he's having his dream. I thought that was
kind of funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
And I think that's one of the things that people, I know a lot of people who are Rock fans or Snyder fans will be like, oh, Shazam is too lighthearted, yada yada. I'm not one of those people that actually hates that Shazam is lighthearted. I feel like there's a place for that, and that I think Shazam is a great corner of the universe.
Shazam's the perfect place for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of who Shazam is. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So I'm not one of those guys that kind of gets down on that movie for it. It has that tone. It should have that tone, to be honest. It should lean more into his foster kid.
And there are serious parts to it too. It's not just all like like the whole time. Like, yeah, there's jokes and it's funny and whatnot, but like in the first film you have him looking for his mother and he finds his mother and she's like pretty apathetic about meeting him, and it's like it's very, harmful and kind of hurtful, and he's a foster child. He goes to a home full of foster children, and so they do address like some real stuff and real things that he's dealing with amongst the jokes, but they're good films. So but we are at our time. I'm ready to wrap up.
We got a big day.
I really appreciate everybody coming out, commenting, liking, all that fun stuff.
Thank you guys so much for showing up. We had very little like fanfare to get people like to come here, and we still had a lot of people sign up and ask questions and just enjoy this live stream with us. Like, I'm pretty excited about this, Josh. I don't know about you.
Yes, very excited. If you're watching and you haven't liked this stream, go ahead and hit the like button. We really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe. We really appreciate that as well.
Love you all.
Check out our other videos if they interest you.
Yes.
Drop us a comment anywhere. Let us know like other content that you want us to cover. Yes, we are going to dive into some more sci-fi stuff. Star Wars is on the docket. Star Trek is on the docket. We are going to be getting into those things in the future. So look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for showing up and checking this stream out. Big shout out to Atlas. You're always here for us. We appreciate you, man. Hope you have a great night.
Take care, you guys. Have a good one. Nights out.